A warm welcome to everyone. Myself Srividhya, working as assistant professor in King's College of Engineering, Punalkulam. In this video, you will gain a great knowledge about formation of soil and also the type of soil from the field of soil mechanics. In general, soil is a substance existing on the earth's surface which grow and develops the plant life. And in the view of civil engineer, the soil is a supporting system of building structure. Now, let me see how the soil is formed. The soil formation is a cyclic process. On the basis of geological origin, the soil can be divided mainly into two groups. The first one is soil of organic origin and the second one is soil formed by physical and chemical weathering of rocks. The cycle shows the typical cyclic process of formation of soil. The first is erosion and transportation, deposition and upheaval. This is the cyclic process for the formation of soil. Over millions of years, the forces of weathering and erosion slowly but constantly have produced a layer of broken pieces of rock all over the earth's surface. The size of these rock pieces varies from boulders to the finest bits. The layer composed of pieces of rock is called the rock mantle. As the forces of wind and water go on breaking and decomposing the rock mantle, a layer of fine loose material is formed. This is referred to as soil. It is made up of tiny grains of rocks and materials. The natural process of weathering and erosion bring about important changes on the surface rock. These processes consistently break, carry off and deposit loose surface materials from where they are formed to other places. The continued action of water and wind changes the rock pieces into finer particles, thus forming boulders, gravel, sand and clay. To these surface materials are added the decayed remains of plants and animals called humus. Organic substances are returned into the soil after they decompose. Because of their finer texture, these enable the soil to hold much water. The picture shows the layer of soil. The first layer is topsoil. Has lots of humus, many small animals live in it. The second layer of soil is subsoil. Does not have lots of humus, but it has small pieces of rock. The third layer shows the bedrock. It has no humus, made up of solid rock. It contains more amount of rock pieces and boulders. Next, let me see what are the factors affecting the formation of the soil. The soil covers the entire earth, so the temperature, rainfall and climate are the main factors that affect the soil formation. First, let me see temperature. It controls how fast chemical reaction occurs. Many reactions proceed more quickly as temperature increases. The temperature and rainfall involves the climate is a significant factor not only in soil formation but also in the sustaining diversity of plants and animals in the country. On the other hand, water also directly affects the movement of soluble soil nutrients from the topsoil to deep under the ground. That process is called leaching. Next, let me see what is weathering. The natural process that slowly breaks the rock into little pieces is called the weathering. It is very slow but continuous process. It wears down the surface of earth. The primary soils are formed through two processes of weathering, that is physical weathering and chemical weathering. Now let me see the physical weathering. It is also called as mechanical weathering. Mechanical or physical weathering includes process that break the rock into pieces without changing their chemical composition. Some of these pieces are large and some are very fine. These pieces are called the soils. These pieces fall under the category of gravel and sand respectively. The physical weathering of the parent rock can occur due to the following processes. They are rapid changes in temperature, force of freezing water, roots of trees, burrowing animals, the wind, the rock, the beating force of water can break the rocks. Now let me see one by one. The first one is rapid changes in temperature. During the day, the rock are heated and then expand. At night, they are cooled and then contract. Since rocks are composed of minerals, these minerals expand and contract too. This alternate expansion and contraction causes the rock to crack, especially if the minerals expand and contract in unequal amounts. Next, see the second one, force of freezing water. The water may enter the cracks or crevices in the rock. When it freezes, it expands by about 9% of its volume and causing the rock to split. See the first picture, the water seeps into the rocks and fractures in rock. Next, see the second one, when the water freezes, it expands about 9% in volume, which wedges apart the rock. Next, see the last picture with repeated freezing and thawing cycles, rock breaks into pieces. This will form the formation of the soil in the earth's surface. Next, the third one, roots of tree. Some seeds are accidentally thrown into the cracks in between the rocks. When they grow, the roots creep in and the force of their growing can split the rocks and forms the small soil particles. So see the picture, these are the mechanical weathering due to the roots of trees grown in the rock. Next, burrowing animals. Animals such as earthworms, ants and the larvae of other insects dig into the rocks, thus exposing fresh surfaces to further weathering. These are the weathering process which was involved by the earthworm and ants and other insects due to their digging process into the soil. Next, see the wind. The wind with its load of fine rock particles may rub and abrade exposed rock surfaces. The picture shows how the wind involves the weathering process of the rock. It breaks into small pieces and forms the soil in the earth's surface. Next, the rock. Rock also wear away other rocks. Rocks on the hillside may roll down and rub against other rock surface. Rocks dropping from a higher place often break the rocks they hit further down. Small pieces of rocks like sand and gravel may scratch other rocks as they are carried off by water. The picture shows how the rocks are rolling from the hillside to the lower side and forming the soil. Next one is the beating force of water can break the rocks. The exposed rock in a river bank can be observed to have smooth rounded surfaces. The sharp edges have been worn away by the constant flowing of water. The stones you can see in the river beds in the picture differ from those in other places. Their surfaces are smoother and they are more rounded in shape. Pebbles on the seashore are smooth and rounded for the same reason. Next, let me see what is exfoliation. Exfoliation is also one of the process which involves the soil formation. Sometimes this alternate expansion and contraction may cause the rock to peel off in thin sheet. The figure shows how the peeling off process is taken place. This peeling off process is called the exfoliation. Next, let me come for the chemical weathering. In chemical weathering, the composition of rock is altered. A new product which easily crumbles to pieces is formed. Chemical weathering is brought about by a chemical reaction between the minerals in the rocks and carbon dioxide, oxygen or water. On the other hand, in chemical weathering, rock decomposes by oxidation, hydration, carbonation and leaching by organic acids and forms finer soil such as silts and clay. Next, let me see biological Weathering. Sometimes biological weathering can also take place that creates the formation of soil. Biological weathering involves the disintegration of rock and minerals due to the chemical and physical agents of an organism. The figure shows the biological weathering of rock. Next, let me see the essential function of the soil. These are the 5 functions of the soil which are very most important. The soil regulates the flow of water on land. It sustains plant and animal life. It filters potential pollutants. The minerals and microbes in soil are responsible for filtering, buffering, degrading, immobilizing and detoxifying organic and inorganic materials, including industrial and municipal byproducts and atmospheric deposits. It aids in cyclic nutrients. It supports structure of the earth. Next, let me see what are the types of soil. The types of soils are many as accordingly to its size, origin, texture and usage. First we will see the type of soil based on the grain size. Based on its grain size, the soils are classified as cobbles, gravels, clay, silt and sand. Cobbles are larger than pebbles and smaller than boulders. The size between 64 mm to 256 mm. Gravels are having the diameter between 4.75 to 76.2 mm. A clay, the soil grains with finer than 0.002 mm. Silt, the soil grains with size ranging from 0.075 to 0.002 mm. The sand, particles seen by naked eye and size less than 4.75 mm. Next, let me see the type of soil based on the origin. The soil are classified into 2 accordingly to its origin. First one is residual soil. Next we will see about the transported soil. First one, residual soil. On the basis of grain size, we can arrange the soil by gravels having the largest grain size. After that, the sand has relatively smaller grains and then come slits. And lastly, the clays have smallest grain size. If weathered material or formed soils remain at the place where they were produced, they are called the residual soils. Next, let me see the transported soils. As the name says, they are the soils that are transported from the area of weathering to some other location by means of transportation agency. The transportation agency are like wind, water, ice or gravity. Next, let me see some other important soil forming the earth's surface. Glacial soil, alluvial soil, colluvial soil. First we see what is glacial soil. This type of soil is developed, transported and deposited by the actions of the glaciers. These deposits consist of rock fragments, boulders, gravels, sand, silt and clay in various proportions. That is a heterogeneous mixture of all sizes of particles or the glacier soil. Next come for the alluvial soil. The soil transported and deposited by water is called alluvial soil. As flowing water loses its velocity, it tends to deposit some of particles that it was carrying in suspension or by rolling, sliding or skipping along the river bed. Next, let me see what is colluvial soil. The accumulation formed by the rock fragments and soil material resulting from the mechanical weathering of rocks is called the colluvial soil. This type of soil is formed more or less in situ or as a result of transport by gravity over a short distance. Next, these are the some important types of soil which was exposed in the earth's surface. Wind blown soil or aeolian soil. The soil transported by the geological agent wind and subsequently deposited is known as wind blown soil or aeolian soil. Aeolian soil are two main types, namely dune sand and loess. Dune or dune sand, what is that? Let me see. In arid parts of the world, wind is continually forming sand deposit in the form of dunes, characteristics by low hill and ridge formation. They generally occur in deserts and comprise of sand particles which are fairly rounded and uniform in size. The particles of the dune sand are coarser than the particles of loess. Dune material is generally a good source of sand for construction purposes. Next we see what is loess. Accumulation of wind-blown dust, that is mainly siliceous slit or a slitty clay laid down in the loose condition, is known as the loess. The first picture shows the sand dune. The next picture shows the loess. Next let me see what is clay soil. It is the type of soil that is comparatively heavy as it has higher water retention capacity and higher concentration of nutrients. The soil is made up of over 25% clay particles that are smaller in size and thus hold a large amount of water. However, because it is a heavy and dense type of soil, it does not provide space for plants' roots to flourish. Next, let me see what is loam soil. Loam soil is a mixture of sand, silt and clay soil that combines the properties of all types of soil to make it more fertile. The soil has enough pores as well as water retention capacity to promote crop production. The level of calcium and pH of loam soil is also the appropriate amount due to the presence of inorganic matter. So these are the types of soil we have learned so far. Okay, I hope you all understand what is the formation of soil and also the types of soil in soil mechanics. Thank you.